Well, here we are. We're back in the Budget Home studio. I didn't think I'd be doing a video so quickly, but a heck of a lot can happen in a short period of time, as we who follow all of the events are well aware of. Why should I be surprised about Volkswagen telling porkies? And here in New Zealand, as the news came through on the dispatch that Volkswagen had done something terrible, New Zealand would be excluded from it. Couldn't have happened here. Now it appears that Volkswagen New Zealand is unable to make a definitive statement about this issue. So, people in the automotive industry, as in all business and commercial ventures, are not exempt from boosting and promoting and being economical with the truth. Very interesting how it all goes round and round. It's almost as if, like, nah, we don't learn from history. And actually, this brings me to something I've got to get off my chest, because I didn't sleep very well last night, and so I got up onto YouTube, which of course, as you know, those of you who follow me on YouTube, I'm quite fond of. A lot of adverts on YouTube, but hey, it's got to be funded somehow. And as our contributions on YouTube are not charged for, I don't begrudge them trying to make some revenue off it. What I do find quite hard to come to terms with is their so-called promise of a little bit of the profits being shared with you. It seems to be almost impossible to actually get something from it. So anyway, haven't given up, don't worry about that. But I'm watching Peter Jennings, The Life of Jesus, and I thought to myself, I've got to get this off my chest, because I thought that the attempt that Peter Jennings did as a so-called journalist, I mean, basically all he did was a pretty shabby hatchet job on the authenticity of who Jesus was. Was Jesus who he claimed he was? And so, of course, he goes around and interviews people who are not really well qualified to make comment on the basis that they don't give different perspectives and different opinions about the subject. They just give one, that, like, you know, some academic bureaucrat in a liberal neo-orthodox theological college or school, you know, a place where people actually earn their living by teaching theology but don't actually believe anything that's in the Bible. I always find this somewhat of a rort. I mean, it's like we've got a theologian in New Zealand, chap called Lloyd Gearing. Some of you will have heard of him. He didn't say anything new, but he kind of like repeated, oh, God's dead, so, you know, let's move on kind of stuff. Man with a background in mathematics and a bit of a logical positivist as a philosopher. So, I mean, it would have been better, would have been intellectually more honest if he actually hadn't taken to the cloth, but he did actually get quite a good living from it. I mean, he was provided for, and he didn't really believe in the existence of a supernatural God, or the authenticity of Jesus, and the fact that the Bible and the historic orthodox claims that are made, the virgin birth, creation by a God who called everything into existence by his word, the belief that Jesus was the Son of God, that he had actually been crucified and risen. The whole message of the gospel, in a nutshell, had risen, and his death and resurrection were to liberate us, individuals, persons, people, and give us the promise of eternal life. For God so loved the world that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Well, anyway, there's the historic claim. What Peter Jennings did was he went around and he interviewed various half-wits and so forth, and I think actually, to be honest, I've formed the opinion that Peter Jennings, like a lot of journalists, you know, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. With him, it wasn't even a good story, it was just a story, because to do a really good review or an analysis of a subject as big as Christ and his impact on culture, you've got to have a lot of different perspectives, and also, you know, you've got to actually come to the point where you actually say, well, I'm bringing my own prejudices and presuppositions to bear in this, and so I'm not objective either. I mean, none of us can be objective. So what is the special place that the Bible has? You know, the thing is that in a post-Christian world, because today I'd just been from a coffee with a friend, and he was taking great delight in trying to bait me on the fact that, you know, there's no real substance to the claims that are made by some of these people who actually believe. And he'd be one of the people who probably hadn't read the Bible. I mean, like, I did put to him that I'd met priests in 1976 in Italy who hadn't actually read the Bible. I mean, sure, they'd done all the requirements for fitting in with the Catholic clergy. That wasn't, you know, the issue. The thing was, had they actually read the Bible? And you'll find there's an awful lot of people who slag it off and haven't actually read it. I've actually come to the conclusion that Chuck Missler's right when he talks about it being an integrated message system. So if you're going to look at the life of Jesus, you can't find a historical Jesus by separating the historic Jesus from a supernatural Jesus. And the only way you get a picture of the supernatural is actually in the Bible, just like the whole story of existence and the meaning of life has a context, and and actually, to get to know the human race, to get to know oneself, to get to know humanity, the Bible still hasn't been eclipsed. There's nothing better than the Bible to give you a moral compass and an understanding of what, you know, truth is. What could be better than that? I ask you. And yet, this message, and I mean, there is so much antagonism and hostility towards the Orthodox position. A lot of people don't even know why they are antagonistic, and sort of some of it's got to do with their background and their environmental and their experiences, their upbringing, and what they've been exposed to and what they've read and so forth. But I guarantee that if anybody actually reads the Bible carefully from the beginning to the end, from Genesis to Revelations, the book of Revelations, they're going to have some serious issues they have to actually fess up to. So they've got to actually do that before they can actually be critical. And actually, since the Bible is actually a fascinating and complex work, it does require quite careful study, and you can't actually just go there, read it from cover to cover without actually doing a bit of research, background research as well. So you need a bit of schooled opinion. I mean, if you're in a court, you take notice of professional opinion before you'd listen to a layperson. So someone who's got an expert opinion is actually at the top of the decision-making, influencing ladder. So basically what you've got to do is find people who actually have good credentials to help you understand some of the issues. And it's not done by just reading one person. You have to read, actually get several opinions and then use your reason to form a sound conclusion, form a judgment. You've got to you have to have the ability to have good judgment. You don't get that by shutting out all the different opinions that are out there that are, from people who have been educated, good education, understanding. And not only that, but when you get an opinion, it has to actually fit within a sort of framework of, is it reasonable? Is that a reasonable opinion that we've been given? So various sort of tests of methodology, knowledge, epistemology, metaphysics, morals, is it all adding up? I'm not saying that everybody needs this, but certainly if you have any kind of intellectual bearing, or you have a tendency to want to ask more questions, then that's the amazing thing about the Bible, is that it sort of caters for everyone. It's incredible. And that's all there is to it. It's quite amazing, and it's even more amazing how many people have read it and they want to pass judgment. Yeah. So anyway, having got that off my chest, here we go, 25th of the 9th, 2015. And we'll wrap this one up, and we'll let you have a think about it. But I'm always interested in what you've got to say. Well, there are literally, I think YouTube must be the biggest search engine now. I mean, there's just so much material on it. And then there's so much rubbish, like, the internet is just full of people who, mischief makers, gremlins, however you want to call them. They're all out there saying unbelievably outrageous things about people, slandering one another, tending to, almost an anarchistic, well it is, it's like the Wild West. Okay, see you again soon. That's Brian Pepptalk.